Hello there, and welcome to the Impact Zone podcast. We're back to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and we are reviewing this week's episode, the 25th of April, and previewing the 2nd of May episode of TNA Impact here on the channel. This was much of the fallout from Rebellion, and we talked about what happened at Rebellion. A banger of a show, absolutely amazing. They had a lot of highlights here in the quote-unquote cold open or whatever for this show, which harken back to Rebellion. Now, Under Siege is in just another week, basically. So, they're jumping into another pay-per-view very quickly. This one's not going to be as big, I'm sure, but still, it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to want to kind of tune into, because again, there's a lot going into probably the next couple of weeks building up to Slammiversary and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of the road we're on, and against all odds is after Under Siege. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. I will be talking about whatever. I'm about to say whatever, but I can't say what they've sort of done on this show to talk about Under Siege yet. I have to talk about that in a separate video, and I will be doing it later on. But we will get to that at some point. I'm pretty sure it'll probably already be on the channel, so you guys can check that out when you're done with this video, unless you've already checked it out. So whatever. Nick Nemeth comes down for a promo saying, he lost, but he doesn't know really what to do. He's feeling a bit broken, and then Broken Matt Hardy came out to say, hey, in that match, it seemed like your shoulder actually came up, but it is what it is, and you've got to move on, but just have hope, and maybe I will be the champion, so maybe you can challenge me as well, instead of challenging that mountain moose. And then the System came out to sort of mock Nemeth, mock Matt Hardy, which led to Nick Nemeth saying, hey, Eddie Edwards, I'm going to have a match with you tonight. And that fed into the next, that showdown later on tonight, which will happen. Now, the ballot box thing began, which was Mustafa Ali's new thing to get a number one contender. And I was a little bit confused by this at first. But basically, all of the wrestlers got to vote on which wrestler they thought should get a title shot, but they couldn't vote for themselves effectively. So, yeah, that was the whole idea here. I think, at least, that was what I understood, because I don't think it actually came up, though it should have done. It should have been made clear that you couldn't vote for yourself and whatnot. But anyway. Tom Hannafin and Matthew Raywell were running down the card. We had a promo about Jordan Grace having a match against Miyu Yamashita next week, which will now be a title match. We know that. So, I don't see Miyu winning. It doesn't make much sense to me. And it's on free TV. Come on. They're not really going to do that. But it'll be a very good match and whatnot. And these girls can bring it. So wait and see for that. But it's all Jordan's got a lot to do between now and whenever or wherever, and it feels like there's a lot of filler stuff in there, not so much for her, more for the rest of the locker room. But there's that too. You should have that as well. You need to have more going on sometimes. But again, it's tough when you don't have something personally, especially when you're the champ. But anyway, especially when, like, I mean, more so on pay-per-view or whatever, or big matches or whatever that people really pay to see. So yeah. But anyway, the return of Santana to TNA wrestling. Actually, I don't think he ever technically wrestled under the TNA banner. He only wrestled under the iMPACT banner. So this was his technically first TNA match, TNA official match. So that's interesting. Oh, well, I suppose technically his first match was at Rebellion, but whatever. But anyway, these guys like Myron, we talked about him a bit here and there. Like, it's sad to see that he isn't signed in a lot of ways, because again, like, this sort of happens where you don't really get many TV wins. So yeah, it's a little bit tough sometimes, but the match was good despite being a little bit short. But still, it is what it is. You see highlight here of this rolling cutter that Santana hit. It felt like it sort of missed a little bit in terms of timing, but just it still was a very impressive. And in the end, Santana stands tall. Macklin then came out to attack him. So it seems like their rivalry is going to continue. But he tried to enlist the help of the Rascals, but the Rascals were having none of it, since, Macklin effectively, sort of attacked them, but he didn't. But still, yeah. So they don't trust him still, and whatnot, and all of this. And Macklin walked back up the ramp while keeping an eye on the Rascals and saying, hey, all your fault. Anyway, Steph DeLander had a promo with Khan talking about their match with Jordan Grace and PCO at Under Siege. Like, I noticed this in a tweet that Jordan Grace did, that she said PCO versus Khan 2-0 and Grace versus DeLander 2-0. Could they win in a tag team match? I feel like that could be, like, all right for them to win in a tag team match, because you can still feel like that's a match where, anything can kind of happen, and the win is not as or devastating or momentum shifting to the champion Jordan Grace. I don't think that would hurt her, but in all honesty, I think just PCO should probably take the pin there if they are losing, and that could further, like, Khan versus PCO a bit better. And as I said before, I think they made a big mistake by doing this in this regard in some ways, but we have to wait and see again sometimes. But what more can you do with PCO and Khan? Like, I don't know, dude. It's going to be tough to do anything more violent with them. But they have to find something. But yeah, we'll keep watching this at Under Siege. Talk about it more in that upcoming video. Josh Alexander came out for a promo saying, hey, he needs to get back to the title. Kazarian came out and said, hey, that's pretty presumptuous, thinking that you can get to the title. I should be getting to the title. And then Josh Alexander said, well, let's settle this. It's either you or me, and we can have a number one contenders match right here, right now, and that's basically what happened. They had a number one, effectively what we assumed to be a number one contenders match, but then again, it's not actually, I guess, because the title match isn't set yet, I believe, or it's a title. The Moose is in a is in a 6-man tag match. So at Under Siege, so we'll have to wait and see more there. I feel like they're almost building to another match with Josh or somebody else at Under Siege, or maybe even at Hard to Kill. Oh, not Hard to Kill, Against All Odds. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know, but who it could be, I'm not really that certain. But it's tough here because it's like this is Kaz and Alexander 3, I think it is, or is it number 2 that they had? And Josh Alexander's won both of those matches, so it's going to be really tough to have another match between these two since Josh has won both of them. Again, same sort of thing with Delandra and PCO. It feels like, man, like sometimes you need to give up that win. Highlight here of a bit of the promo work going on there. But yeah, Josh Alexander did win this match. It makes me feel like especially when Eric Young came out at the end, that it almost felt like maybe Kaz shouldn't have won in some ways. But then again, like, Josh needs opponents, and it feels like this match should have been held off to Under Siege as well. Like, there's a bit short-sighted in some ways to have this just on TV or whatever, but it is a good match to have on TV, certainly. So you got to bring those people in and whatnot. So here's a highlight of Kaz walking into the belly to back body drop here. And a highlight of trying to get a slime move here, but Eric Young stops the shenanigans. But he gets called out by the ref and told to go to the back, but he basically doesn't. He just goes back to basically the top of the ramp, because basically the end of the match right then and there. Jake Something was there to at the voting booth, effectively, and Hammerstone came in aggressively, showing some disrespect, and Jake said, "Hey, show some respect." And he said, "Hey, we'll fight," effectively. So we're getting some big, beefy, sweaty men slapping meat here at Under Siege between these two. And, yeah, what more do you want? Big men slapping meat. So, yeah. AJ Francis rolled up to the impact zone and then came out to have an interview. And even Joe Hendry came out and said, "Hey, maybe I disrespected you, and I'm going to make a public apology next week." Ash by Elegance versus Zaya Brookside was next. And, I'm glad, they're seemingly keeping this going. Because, again, you need to give Ash as much as you can give her, in terms of stuff to do and build her up, especially. Like it's tough to build somebody up when they have to take losses sometimes, but that's the nature of professional wrestling. You can't show that somebody's unbeatable in too many ways, because again, you have too many problems in doing that sometimes. But you have to not show that they're weak. You have to show that they're capable and blah 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 blah, all this sort of stuff. You've got to put real time and energy into it, and again, the wrestlers have got to be willing and able and capable of doing that. But again, if you don't put time and effort into your wrestlers on TV, that's where people start becoming disingenuous to them and whatnot. Same with Zaya. If she continued to lose without a glimmer of hope of winning, like her stock and her star power goes way down unless you're going to do something, a very strong angle with her, then, to keep her kind of momentum going. But she won here against Ash in a surprise upset move, which is good. The babyface shouldn't, especially when you're fighting from underneath so much, you shouldn't win too convincingly sometimes, and especially in this case, because again, it makes Ash feel like, oh, well, that could have been a bit of a fluke win or whatever. It keeps Ash a little bit more protected in some ways, but it gives a good shine to Xayah in that way as well. Highlight here of Brookside rolling Ash up for the victory after she reversed her, trying to hit her with some embedded jewels on some brass knucks. But yeah. Next, we get the announcement of who won the battle box. The votes seemed to suggest that the number one contender was Trey Miguel, but it seemed that there were way more votes in the ballot box than there were people that actually voted or could vote in the ballot. So the next person who had the most votes was Ace Austin, so Santino Marella decided that, hey, both of these guys are going to wrestle to become the number one contender to the X Division Championship at Under Siege, which is going to happen next week. So yeah. In my opinion, that'll be Ace Austin, because again, Mustafa Ali, heel. What's the point of Trey Miguel, a heel? Even if you're going to try to turn them babyface, I don't know. You could start trying to do that if you kind of want, I guess. I don't know. But, it's a very, babyface turns and heel turns are often very, subtle little things, especially, babyface turns. They're very subtle things, mostly. So... I don't really see it happening at the moment. Maybe you could start trying to tell that story if you want, but I don't know. It feels like, it's a little way off yet. I'm not too sure. So I feel like Ace Austin's the obvious answer there, and he's going to face Mr. Ali. I don't feel like he's winning the title. It doesn't make any sense. And it still kind of drives this wedge in the whole, are the ABC a tag team? Are they doing singles stuff? Blah, 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 all that sort of thing. And it keeps driving them away from that, which is kind of weird. But yeah, I don't know. The Good Hands take on Sami Callihan, the returning Sami Callihan. And this is again, another person who it's his first technically official match in TNA. So that is pretty awesome. I saw a tweet of Sami Callihan saying, I've watched from the very first episodes of TNA, and, this is a sort of a dream come true to finally wrestle in the TNA ring for the first time. So cool for him. I know he and Abyss are like this, and that Abyss trained him effectively and all of this, or was one of the people that trained him. So yeah, and he had a pretty decent match here with both of the Good Hands, though it was pretty short for the most part. But again, sometimes it's one of those things when you've got big main events and whatnot, and you've got 5 or 6 other matches that are on the card. It's really tough to have a really stellar good match. But he puts down Jason Hotch specifically with the Cactus Pile Driver 97. And Callihan gets his first win in TNA. A good feel-good moment here. And we'll wait and see where he goes. It's not a lot of the other people like Santana. He already has Macklin. But Callahan, like, I don't see him really feuding with the Good Hands. Like, he can feud with the Good Hands, but that's not really a good feud for him to really, like, be in that much as a singles wrestler. He should be doing other things, I feel like. But what it is specifically is tough to say. Like before, when he was in TNA, I felt the whole story that he had with Dina and the betrayal angle and all of that stuff should have led to like a world title situation, or at least something like that. And it just didn't, which was just like, sort of a big waste of all that momentum and storytelling that they kind of did, and I think was like the best story going at the time. And not to do anything about it was a bit. I don't know why they didn't do anything with it. Maybe it was because they were like, oh well, Callahan hasn't re-signed, and so we don't really know what we're going to do with him. But we're going to send him out on a on a good note, so hopefully he'll re-sign. like. Which is kind of what happened. Steve Macklin had a proposition for the King of TNA, Frankie Kazarian, to work together, though in light of what sort of happens at the end of the show, that's probably not going to be as relevant. We found out a bit about what's happening next week, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on after we talk about the main event. Here, Ryan Nemeth is in attendance. Also, we found out about like what is going on with Under Siege. A lot of announcements there because again, it's in 2 weeks, so very, very soon, or in a week, whatever it is now. This was a alright match. This was the main event match, and it is a draw match. I felt like many times in this match that like Eddie, it felt like he should have been like targeting a body part or putting more like holds on Nemeth and things like that, or choking or whatever and things like that. Just like making it more of something, less of like he's just hit, slap, whatever. Later in the match, they start to actually like put on more like proper moves rather than just like chops and strikes and whatnot. Though there are a lot of strikes later on in the match as well, but I do feel like there wasn't a huge amount of like real like wrestling moves. Like the biggest like wrestling move that I think that sort of, or moves that sort of came in this match was like the superplex that he did, that Eddie did off the top to Nemeth, and then immediately hit him with the Tiger Driver, which came to a very close near fall. But yeah. It wasn't to be for Nemeth, unfortunately, tonight, after a lot of, well, distractions and shenanigans. Eddie was able to hit the Boston Knee Party. But like after this really good sequence where Nemeth went for the Danger Zone and Eddie went for the Boston Knee Party, but then they both clotheslined each other down. And that was like the end of the match where Eddie got the victory after some more, shenanigans on the outside and some distractions. After the match, the system launched an attack on Nick Nemeth, with Moose swinging a chair into another chair that was around Nemeth's neck, which supposedly has injured him, taking him out of the upcoming show, which is here Under Siege. So Nick Nemeth is out, and apparently Broken Matt Hardy, will confront the system with Speedball Mountain instead. This is where Impact went off the air just before this, and then we got that digital exclusive video. Now, there is some stuff up here that I believe is for Under Siege. Though I don't know. Oh, PCO. Yeah, PCO and Grace versus Delandra and Khan. The System with Alicia versus Nemeth and Speedball Mountain, which is now Matt Hardy and Speedball Mountain. Hammerstone versus Jake Something. Spitfire versus Alicia Edwards and Marsha Slamovich. We'll talk more about those in the upcoming Under Siege video. I'm already forgetting the name of the show several times here. Let's all go away. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this one. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one here, and I hope you guys will tune in again for another one. We'll be doing our Under Siege video, or it should be up at least anyway at some point very soon if it isn't already. So go on and check that out and join me there. I hope you do. Or if not, hope you join me in another one.